Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we will discuss about varicella, that is chickenpox. Chickenpox is a common childhood febrile exanthematous illness. It is common in the children with age group between 5 to 10 years. It is a self-limiting disease, that is, child recovers with the help of his own immunity. But sometimes complications can be seen in immunocompromised children, neonates, pregnant adults, and rarely in healthy immunocompetent children also. It can occur as an opportunistic infection in immunocompromised children. It is one of the components in torch infections. The letter O in the torch stands for other infections, which includes varicella also. Varicella or chickenpox is caused by varicella zoster virus, also known as herpes simplex virus 3. It belongs to herpes family. It is a DNA virus. Humans are the only reservoir host for the varicella virus, and infection with varicella virus gives lifelong immunity. And coming to the transmission of this virus transmits through respiratory secretions of infected individuals, that is via air droplets. That is, it is an airborne disease. It can also transmit through skin lesions of the infected individuals via direct contact or with fomites formed from the vesicular fluid. And the crusted lesions are not infective. And portal of entry into the child is through respiratory tract. Incubation period of this infection is 10 to 21 days. After entry into the respiratory tract, the virus replicates in the respiratory mucosa and then disseminates to the skin and other organs, and then again reaches respiratory mucosa and spreads to other individuals via respiratory secretions, and it can infect the other individuals even before the appearance of rash. That means child can spread the virus to others even from 2 days before the onset of rash until all the vesicles are crusted. That means roughly from 2 days before the onset of rash to 5 days after the onset of rash, the child can spread the virus to others. It is a highly contagious disease. Secondary attack rate for the household contacts is more than 85%. So the children should be home isolated until all the lesions are crusted. Even in the house, they should be isolated from the other children. And coming to the breakthrough varicella or modified varicella. It is the varicella occurring in a child despite of taking immunization. But the disease in those children will be mild. Coming to the clinical features of chickenpox. It is divided into 3 stages. First stage is prodromal phase or pre-eruptive phase. Second is eruptive phase, and third is recovery phase. Prodromal phase starts as fever, upper respiratory symptoms, for example running nose, malaise, anorexia, headache, conjunctival congestion, etc. can be seen in prodromal phase, and it lasts for 1 to 2 days. After the pre-eruptive phase, eruptive phase begins. That is, rash appears in eruptive phase. Intense pruritic macules develop with area of inflammation around. These lesions evolve from macules into papules into vesicles, and later the scab forms. The rash is described as dewdrop rash. That means clear fluid-filled vesicles on the skin with area of inflammation around them resembles like a dewdrop on a rose petal. You can see the vesicular rash in chickenpox in the left side, and in the right side you can see a dewdrop on a rose petal. The rash in chickenpox is superficial, unilocular, symmetrical, and in centripetal distribution. That means the rash first appears on the trunk and then spreads to face and limb. It involves flexor surfaces. It also involves axilla, scalp, oropharynx, but it spares palms and soles. It is a pleomorphic rash. That means the rash occurs in several crops. Approximately total 5 crops can occur. So the lesions can be seen at varying stages of evolution at the same point of time. That means fresh crops may be seen as macules and papules, as well as at the same time old crops of lesions may be seen as vesicles and crus. You can see the vesicular rash on the right upper side, and in the left lower side you can see the crusted lesions. So it is defined as pleomorphic rash. That means varying stages of lesions can be seen at the same point of time. And the symptoms persist for 2 to 4 days after onset of rash. Rash lasts for 3 to 5 days. New crops of lesions are rare after 5 to 7 days. After the disappearance of rash, hypo or hyperpigmented macules can be seen for days to weeks. Residual scarring is not seen unless the lesions are secondarily infected with bacteria. Coming to the complications of chickenpox. Number 1 is secondary bacterial infection of skin lesions. It is the most common complication of varicella. Staph aureus and Streptococcus pyogenes are the main organisms. This can lead to impetigo, cellulitis, necrotizing fasciitis, and even sepsis can occur. CNS complications that can be seen are acute cerebellar ataxia, meningoencephalitis, transverse myelitis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, and optic neuritis. CNS vasculitis can also occur, which can lead to stroke, and purpura fulminans can occur. Autoimmune thrombocytopenic purpura can also occur. Cold antibody mediated immune hemolytic anemia can be seen. Ray's syndrome can be seen. It is a rapidly progressive CNS dysfunction. And next other complication is progressive varicella syndrome. Skin lesions appear to develop continuously even after 7 days in this progressive varicella syndrome, and it can lead to autoimmune thrombocytopenic purpura and disseminated intravascular coagulation, hepatitis, nephritis, myocarditis, arthritis, encephalitis, corneal lesions, and varicella pneumonia can also be seen. Coming to next complication, it is congenital varicella syndrome or fetal varicella syndrome, also known as varicella embryopathy. If the mother gets varicella infection in the first and early second trimester, that means up to 20 weeks of gestation, the virus passes through the placenta and infects the fetus. That is, transplacental transmission occurs. There is 0.4 to 2% of chance for the transplacental transmission. In this syndrome, cicatrizing skin lesions, that means scarring of the skin, can be seen, and limb hypoplasias can be seen. Limb malformations, brain calcifications, cataract, corneal scars, and chorioretinitis can also be seen. You can see the scarring of the skin and limb deformities in congenital varicella syndrome. Next, coming to the neonatal varicella. If the mother gets infection within 5 days before and 2 days after the delivery, the neonate can get severe varicella disease and it can even become fatal, because the neonate will not get the transplacental transfer of antibodies. The neonate should receive intravenous immunoglobulin immediately after the delivery within 96 hours. So it is the severe varicella seen in neonatal varicella. So you should differentiate between neonatal varicella and congenital varicella syndrome. Both are not same. And generalized lymphadenopathy, nephrotic syndrome can also occur in chicken pox. The next complication, that is herpes zoster. It is also known as shingles. In some cases of varicella, the virus become latent in the sensory ganglia, that is dorsal root ganglia, and reactivation of this virus occurs whenever the host immunity decreases. In this herpes zoster, mild unilateral vesicular rash develops in a single dermatome, usually truncal or cranial dermatome, and the rash doesn't cross midline. Pain or itching occurs prior to the eruption of vesicles. This is the herpes zoster rash seen in the truncal and cranial dermatomes. In the herpes zoster, closely distributed groups of vesicles occur on a erythematous base. It is more common in elder children. Herpetic neuralgia is rare in children but can occur in immunocompromised. It can sometimes occur in immunocompetent children also. And what are the risk factors for developing herpes zoster? Varicella occurring in infancy can lead to herpes zoster in later part of life, and it can also occur in immunocompromised children. And if the mother gets infected in third trimester, there is a more chance for developing herpes zoster in the child. And what are the complications of herpes zoster? Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, that is herpes zoster oticus. In this syndrome, the virus infects the geniculate ganglia, and ipsilateral Bell's palsy, vertigo, tinnitus, vesicles on the face, mouth and external ear can be seen. And keratitis can also occur in herpes zoster. It is known as herpes zoster ophthalmicus. And secondary bacterial infection of the skin lesions also can occur. Meningoencephalitis and transverse myelitis can also occur. It is the Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. You can see the Bell's palsy and also vesicular rash on the external ear and oropharynx. It is the herpes zoster ophthalmicus occurring in a child. And coming to the differential diagnosis of varicella. Many diseases can be confused for varicella. Some of them are Coxsackie virus, rickettsial pox, papular urticaria, scabies, impetigo, folliculitis, and dermatitis herpetiformis. And some other diseases that can be confused as varicella are herpes simplex virus, hand, foot and mouth disease, insect bite, drug rash. Coming to the diagnosis of varicella, it is mainly done by history and clinical examination. Zinc smear can be helpful. In zinc smear, multinucleated cells are seen, and anti-IgM antibodies can be seen. PCR and viral culture can be done for the confirmation of the infection. Coming to the treatment aspect of chickenpox, the key points in the treatment are: number 1 is treating the symptoms, number 2 is maintaining the hygiene, number 3 is isolating the child, number 4 is, if necessary, medicines can be given. Coming to the symptomatic treatment, number 1 is treatment of fever. Antipyretics like paracetamol can be used. Aspirin and brufen should not be used to treat fever in chickenpox, because aspirin can cause Reye syndrome and brufen can cause necrotizing fasciitis. And antipruritic agents can be used to decrease the itching. For example, chlorpheniramine maleate, cetirizine, etc. If the child is dehydrated, fluids can be given to improve and maintain the hydration. And coming to the hygiene, maintaining good hygiene is very important to prevent secondary bacterial infection of skin lesions. Coming to the home isolation, child should not go to the school until no new lesions appear and all the existing lesions have crusted. Other siblings also should be isolated from the deceased child. Coming to the drugs, antivirals and antibiotics can be used if necessary. Antivirals are not indicated in children less than 2 years. Antivirals for uncomplicated varicella in an immunocompetent child. In an immunocompetent child, usually antivirals are not required. If oral acyclovir is to be given, it should be started within 24 hours of onset of rash. It will reduce the duration of rash by 1 day and number of lesions by 25%. And there is no use if acyclovir was started after 48 hours of onset of rash. And coming to the dosage of acyclovir, it is given at a dose of 20 mg per kg per dose orally, and it should be given 6th hourly for 5 days. Maximum of 80 mg per kg per day can be given. It's available as tablet Zovirax or Herpekind in the form of 200 mg, 400 mg and 800 mg. And it is also available as suspension Zovirax. Each 5 ml of the suspension contains 400 mg. Other antivirals that can be used are valacyclovir and famciclovir. Both of these have better oral absorption than acyclovir. Antibiotics may be required if the skin lesions are infected with bacteria. And coming to the treatment of complicated varicella in an immunocompetent child. For complicated varicella, intravenous acyclovir should be used. It is given at a dose of 10 mg per kg per dose TID, that is 3 times in a day for 14 days. Injection should be infused slowly over 1 hour. Coming to the treatment of uncomplicated varicella in an immunocompromised child. Duration of oral therapy can be extended for 7 to 10 days in an immunocompromised child. If the child is sick to take orally, intravenous acyclovir can be given at a rate of 10 mg per kg per dose and can be shifted to oral acyclovir at any point of time if the child can take orally. And coming to the treatment of complicated varicella in an immunocompromised child. Intravenous acyclovir should be given at a dose of 10 mg per kg per dose TID for 14 days. Coming to the treatment of herpes zoster in immunocompetent. Oral acyclovir should be given for 7 to 10 days. Treatment of herpes zoster in immunocompromised is same as the treatment of varicella in immunocompromised. That is intravenous acyclovir at a dose of 10 mg per kg per dose should be given TID for 14 days. Coming to the prevention of varicella infection. Varicella zoster immunoglobulin should be used for prevention of varicella infection. If varicella zoster immunoglobulin is not available, any intravenous immunoglobulin can be tried. And varicella vaccine and oral acyclovir can be used for prevention of varicella infection. Coming to the varicella zoster immunoglobulin. It is used for post-exposure prophylaxis in immunocompromised children, pregnants, and in newborns born to mother who was infected with varicella 5 days before to 2 days after the delivery. It should be given within 96 hours of exposure. And in immunocompetent children, oral acyclovir can be given within 10 days of exposure, or varicella vaccine can be given within 3 to 5 days of exposure. Coming to the varicella vaccine. It is available as injection Varilrix or injection Variped or injection Biovac V. It can be given routinely to all children as a part of Indian Academy of Pediatrics vaccination schedule. First dose should be given at 15 months of age and second dose should be given between 4 to 6 years of age. So friends, this is about chickenpox or varicella. Hope you all understood this topic. If you like this video, please share it to your friends. For more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.